everybody. Welcome along to episode 59 of Percussion Discussion. Hope you're all well out there. Please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all of the interviews, past and present. And please subscribe to that if you wouldn't mind. It really, really helps us. If you prefer to listen to your conversations on the go, you can find them all in podcast form on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. You're free to download those and listen whenever you like. Please leave us a review as well if you can. Again, it all really helps. On to today's guest, an incredible drummer, a UK drummer with phenomenal talent. His regular gig is playing for Martin Barre. Of course, Jethro Tull guitarist. He's played for The Darkness, Justin Hawkins, so many different and diverse acts. Recently, he has been playing for incredible Canadian metal powerhouse vocalist Devin Townsend. He did a couple of UK shows as he wasn't able to bring his own band over. I think that went quite well as he has been over in Canada recording the new Devin Townsend album since we did this interview. So it gives me huge pleasure to welcome the phenomenally talented Mr. Darby Todd.
Not a problem, mate. Nice to see you early on a Wednesday morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
Early. It's 1 o'clock.
Musician early.
Yeah, it feels early to me. Anyway, yeah, all good, thanks.
Yeah, you've been a busy boy lately, haven't you? Let's be honest. So I'm glad you could fit us in anyway.
Oh, mate, it's not a problem. It seems like a never-ending stream of work, but an excuse to have a chat about drums and other stupid stuff is always good in my book. So.
Well, look, I've only been aware of your incredible skills for a couple of years, and I'm a bit embarrassed about that. I thought my finger was well and truly on the drumming pulse, but obviously not. And it was our mutual friend, Ian Palmer, had shared a video of you with Protect the Beat.
Yeah.
And I think it was at the Bull's Head. And Jesus, and I was blown away by your playing for a start. Oh. And the band, which is incredible. So that was my introduction to you. I mean, is that still a thing, an ongoing thing?
Funnily enough, I actually have a gig with them tonight in Southend.
Cool.
So it's very rare that we kind of do anything. I mean, obviously the pandemic's got in the way for the last year and a half, but everyone in that band, Derek's off with Jules Holland, Winston's in Massive Attack, Tim does, the Bee Gees or the remaining guys in the Bee Gees. So, it's very hard to actually find a date where everyone can come in the same place at the same time. So tonight is one of those rare occasions, which is kind of fun.
I bet you can't. I mean, that must be a fun gig, right? Because I get the impression it's on a lot of it is on the fly, but in an incredibly professional way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've done 2 albums now. We're halfway through actually, we're not even halfway through it. We started the 3rd album 5 years ago, and we still haven't done it. I think, but we're going to try and get on that in the next couple of months. But so, like all the songs are fairly sort of, I guess, written and organised in that they've got an intro, a melody, but it's kind of what happens between the melody and the ending melody that, any given night it could go anywhere. And that's where kind of the improvisation comes in. And I think it's a lot of fun because it's a band that for a bunch of guys that do a lot of session work and very, I guess you call it regular straight ahead gigs, having the opportunity to just sort of lash out and have some fun it's just like sort of a letting it stream out sort of thing. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that tonight. Should be fun.
Yeah, I mean that is the key word there, fun. Because you can do some gigs and it's all right, but fun, having I guess you're all mates anyway, which it does makes a difference, doesn't it? I think.
Completely. No, but I think anything you do musically has to be fun. I mean, you get instances where it's work, but I mean, to me, playing music it's a fun thing, and I actually speak to people that kind of go, oh, I wish I was doing a bigger gig, or I wish I wasn't teaching so much, or I wish I was doing this. But to be honest, I think if you can make a full-time living out of music, be it playing, in a covers band, Metallica, or even teaching or whatever, that's fun. That's success. If you don't have to do something else, that's you're winning the game right there.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. Well, look, let's talk about the current situation we're in. Sure. The last 18 months has been challenging for anybody in music or the arts. You seem to have thrived. I know you're not doing your normal thing of touring the world, but you kept really busy, haven't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm very lucky. In the first place, I'm in my own little studio here, and I'm able to practice 24 hours. Not that I do practice 24 hours a day, but I could if I wanted. Yeah. And I've got my recording set up, so I can still work and make albums for people and do projects. And so I am very lucky, because I understand that not every drummer has that luxury. It's not easy trying to practice or keep up on your instrument. But yeah, when the pandemic hit, I was on tour in South America, in Chile, with Martin Barre doing the Jethro Tull thing, and Clive Bunker wasn't. Clive Bunker, the original drummer, Tull, plays on that. But I don't think he was on those shows at the time. So we ended up having to fly home on 24 hours notice, cut the tour short. And I think when it kicked off, no one... Oh, whoops, just spilt coffee on me. There's a good start.
Do you want to stop?
No, it's all right. Luckily, it looks like I peed myself, but you can't see that, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, so we got home, and I don't think anyone knew that, the pandemic was going to go on and lockdown was going to go on as long as it was. And, it gradually got worse. But I used it as an opportunity to go, right, I normally spend my life out of the country X amount of months a year. Let's find a way to do something different. And in fact, even just being at home and sort of enjoying home life a little bit was a good thing, because I never really had that much stability or normality in where I was, because I was always traveling. And I was just like, I'm not going to let this get the better of me. It was very easy to sort of get negative about, it is a negative situation, but to kind of really, get in a dark place and just go, oh, life's over. I can't work. I can't play drums. And I'd always wanted to make my own album. And I was just like, I'm hopefully never going to have this much time again. And I just went, I'm going to fill my time up. I'm going to be as productive as possible, so that when lockdown ends, I've got something to show for my time, not just practicing and getting better at my instrument. I wanted to create something and make something. And that was kind of like the whole start of it for me. And I think the more people that kind of saw me being really proactive, on social media and stuff in terms of what I was doing, actually encouraged more people to go, hold on, if he's doing that, I'm going to do it as well, and I'm going to call him and get him to play on my record as well. And it kind of snowballed. It was kind of like, I think the positivity of actually doing something, creative sort of got me even more work throughout a period when normally there wouldn't be much to do. Yeah. Sure. At the end of it, I've created an album I'm really proud of. And the funny thing was, what I thought I would do for a bit of fun in 2-3 weeks turned into 10 months and like severe amount of hours every day, and just became this humongous project that I never anticipated when I started it.
You have some heavyweight guests on that album, don't you? You really do. Just talk us through some of the guests you've got, because it's stunning. It really is.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. So my first port of call was to kind of call musicians that I had toured with, because I very much wanted to make it an album. I didn't want it to be just focused on me and the drums. I wanted it to be music. Yes, there's a few drum solos and it's drum heavy in places, but I didn't want people to think of it as, oh, it's a drummer's solo album, because I think that can sort of pigeonhole things a little bit and just make it a bit boring, if I'm honest. Yeah. So I just started phoning people that I was working with. So I had, some of the people that I'd toured with and played with. Got Kee Marcello on guitar from the rock band Europe, Per Nilsson from Meshuggah and Scar Symmetry, Justin Hawkins from The Darkness, Carl Verheyen from Supertramp. Oh God, I should have put the list up in front. Hold on, I've got the CD here.
There you go. Quick plug.
Yeah, exactly. I've just, my memory's shot at the minute. I'm doing so much work. Don Airey from Deep Purple. Wow. Ron Bumblefoot-Thal from Guns N' Roses and Apollo. Matthias Eklund from Freak Kitchen. On the English side or Welsh side, Laurence Cottle's on there.
Oh, brilliant! Wow.
Yeah, Laurence. Matthias Eklund. I said that from Freak Kitchen. Jem Godfrey from Frost, whose album I just played on recently. A ton of other people. So yeah, it just I just started phoning people that I played with, and then the case of someone like Bumblefoot, I hadn't actually worked with him, but we were hanging out at a festival we did in Poland. We were both at the same festival about a year and a half ago, and we just got on really well. So I just messaged him. I was like, "Oh, do you fancy playing on my record?" And he was like, "Yep." So it was kind of amazing during a pandemic how everyone just wanted to do something.
Yeah. It's been so. I mean, I know it. You know, it's been no picnic this pandemic, but it's done so much, hasn't it? For like online presence for everybody. It's just. I mean, like in a tiny way, this thing I do. But people have kind of made the most of it, and I'm just glad. And I said this to a few people in these interviews that I do. Can you imagine if this was 25 years ago? You'd have been.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just been horrible, wouldn't it? You know, even more horrible.
Yes, stuck in the house, and maybe your only form of entertainment was 4 channels of TV.
Yeah,
that would literally be it. There's been a lot of people that I've seen make the effort to do something, and even like the podcast you do, I think it's great because I'm sure you get a lot out of this because you get to speak to some people that you either really admire or you're kind of only aware of and want to learn more about, and then we all get the enjoyment of actually watching these things and learning and getting stuff out of it as well. So I think trying to find the positivity in things and pushing yourself to improve or create or just slightly veer off from what you would normally do, I think is a cool thing. And I think we've probably all learned a lot about ourselves as well through sort of navigating these bizarre waters and doing stuff. So it's cool.
Well, I have to ask, right? Your album, by the way, it's only available on CD, isn't it? There's no download option. There is no download option at the minute. I mean, if someone emailed me and said any chance I can buy a digital copy, yeah, of course I would send them one. But yeah, I did it on CD. I mean, part of the reason I did it was because I knew when I went back on tour with Martin Barre, because we play a lot in America and Europe and all of that, I knew that it would be a place to sell copies of it and help sort of make up for lost money over the pandemic. Although saying that, I didn't do this to make money. That's kind of like a positive bonus. This was very much creativity for me. But kind of, I see so many people moaning online like, oh no, Spotify and Apple Music, they're ripping us off and they don't pay the artist any money. And, I've got 1 million plays and made $25. And that's right. It does suck. It's kind of unfortunate that's become the new business model. But I see a lot of people moaning about this, but then they just go and put all their music up on Spotify. And I was like, I'm just going to vote with my feet and not do it. One day I may change my mind and put it up online. But, for now, I just didn't want to do that. So I just sell it on CD through my website. But yeah, if someone wanted a digital copy, I'd be happy to do that as well. Well, please give your website because, it's...
It's just it's darbytodd.com, DARBYTODD.com.
There we go.
So yeah, come and show some love.
And the opening track is an inspired choice. It's a track I've loved forever. What drew you to that one? I know what drew you to that one. It's just awesome. So
the first cut off that major Vinnie Colaiuta solo.
Yes,
album. I've always loved that song. There were a few. So my album is half covers, half originals. So there's four covers, 4 originals, and the 4 covers were just songs that I liked. Not necessarily for drumming, just I thought they were awesome songs, and that Vinnie tune was one of them. And I remember as like a 12-year-old kid trying to play along to it, and it was just the challenge of trying to work it out was just insane. And actually, it was the one song that I was worried I wouldn't do any justice to, because it is such an iconic track. Like as soon as everyone started sending me the parts back, and I sort of listened to what had happened, I was like, I think I've actually kind of nailed this. I mean, it's different. I'd say I've made it a fair bit heavier in terms of, guitar and stuff. But I mean, the song is there, the parts are there. And I mean, did you like it?
Oh, yeah, just a bit. Yeah, it's incredible. I love the whole album. But has Vinnie heard it? Do you know? Has anybody managed to...
I doubt it. I thought about, because this is the other thing with social media, you can kind of contact anyone these days.
Yeah.
And I thought about sending it to him, but then I was just like, I'm sure the last thing he wants to hear is someone doing a version of his song from 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, whenever it was. I'm not that old.
Might be surprised.
But well, maybe, yeah, I'll see. I mean, I definitely, we've got a few mutual friends, so maybe I'll do that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was a crazy song, and actually it was kind of difficult because of the pandemic. Like the way I recorded the album was really backwards, because obviously it was very difficult couldn't go in a studio with a core of people or anything.
Of course.
So what I did was I actually got like the original for the covers. I got the original songs and sort of like time stretched them to be in time, because like a couple of the old Fusion tunes just weren't in time. The tempo was all over the place. Put them in Logic, did my rough demo drums to those, then started sending the track out to get like a basis of like bass, some rough guitar. Then once that was done, they got sent back to me. I re-recorded the drums, but like the final version, and then started sending it out to people. So it was kind of an awkward process with me doing twice the amount of work I should have had done. But it worked. And actually the thing I love is that some of the songs, they do sound like four guys in a room, even though it's the furthest thing from the truth, and everything was done separately and not together.
It's an amazing challenge, though, to do that in the first place, isn't it? And as you say, getting it to sound like a band, that's the ultimate, isn't it? That really is.
Yeah. Well, completely. You can listen to so many records. Everything sounds so quantized and fixed and corrected, and you just know it's not done that. It's not done in an organic way. And even though I didn't do mine in an organic way, I think it's kind of come out fairly organic.
Yeah, it sounds great. So look, do yourselves a favor and buy it, and I'm sure you won't mind.
No, that would be good. And the other thing actually I did for it as well was 3 of the songs, not 4. I also released them on my website without drums and transcribed everything note for note.
Good luck.
which was a challenge, especially. I think I said earlier, there's one song where I'm trading force with Marco Minneman, and so I had to transcribe. Marco's a great drummer, but I would describe him as he does a lot of quirky things. So, it's not like, there's a Dave Weckl lick I can write out. It's just really off the cuff, sort of quirky, really weird spaced notes. So having to write all that stuff out was definitely a challenge in my transcription skills.
Wow.
So that was fun. I think that made me a better drummer as well, having to write that stuff out. That was definitely a challenge, and actually write some of my own parts out. Of like, I think sometimes you don't realise the level you're at and again, I don't mean this in an egotistical way. I just think of myself as a drummer that does stuff, and I listen back to stuff and go, oh, that's all right. And then when it's only when I either try and go write it out or I'm going to try and recreate what I played on this record. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like surprise myself.
I'm not trying to blow smoke up your backside here, but your skills are pretty incredible, and the work that you've done, it speaks for itself. But let's go back a little bit, if you don't mind. Let's see where all this sort of developed from, and so where did it all begin for you? Where did it catch fire for you? But with music and drums, whichever came first. Well, obviously.
So I mean, I always had sort of music in the household. My dad used to be a bass player. So we always had music when I was growing up, and when I was 6 I brought a note home from school saying that I could play either violin or tuba, and I was kind of like, I want to play an instrument. So I came home and was like, can I play violin? My dad, in his sort of New York American fashion, went, no, you're not doing that, that's not a cool instrument. He said, wait a week, and a week later he bought me a pair of drumsticks and a little rubber pad and got me a drum lesson with someone locally, and that was kind of it. And I think I always had a natural sort of skill at doing it. It didn't come difficult to me.
Yeah.
And so I used to play a lot, and sort of I got better. And when I turned 13, I entered this like Young Drummer of the Year competition, which was like way before the ones that they have now, and I won it. And actually, Peter Biggin was in that as well. That was the first time I met Pete Biggin. So he was, I think, we were about the same age, give or take a year. So it's kind of funny that both of us have come out from that thing all those years ago you know, he's off smashing the drums and doing level 42. I'm doing what I do, and it's funny to see that years later. But winning that competition kind of, I think, made me go, oh, hold on, maybe I could actually, you know, do this and work at it. So I think that's when I started putting, you know, actual more effort into stuff, because I think even though things came easy to me, I'm inherently a lazy person, or at least I was inherently a lazy person. So I really have to work to sort of, you know, be diligent about things.
Sure.
So I think that was probably a defining moment where I decided that I was going to, you know, put time and effort into it. And then when I hit 18 and finished sixth form, kind of moved to London and just decided to try and be a drummer and try and work. And everything that I've done to date, you know, including last week with Devon Townsend, I can see the timeline that's kind of one thing's led on to another, that's led on another to get me, you know, sitting here today chatting to you.
The pinnacle today.
Hey, I'm enjoying this so far. It's good.
Well, look, you know, what was your, as far as education drum wise, did you keep the same teacher for quite a while, or did you go through a few?
I went through a few. So as a kid, there was a guy called Bill Collis in London that I saw for many years. And then from him, I moved on to Colin Woolway, who I'm sure you know. And I studied with Colin probably for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 18 and I was in London, I used to go over to Thomas Lang's house and study with him. And we'd just sort of hang out for 3 hours and play drums and talk about stuff. And then kind of after that, my getting lessons kind of slipped a little bit. But when, like, if I was in California, I'd go try and grab a lesson with like Steve Houghton. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, I do.
Who, you know, he's a fantastic educator. He's like one of those guys that you just sit down and play for 20 seconds and he immediately just sees all your shortcomings and points them out, and then you feel bad about yourself. But, you know, he's quite inspiring for trying to correct stuff. So that was kind of my musical education. Never went to any music schools. I'm kind of a firm believer in, I think, one-on-one tuition is a really good thing. I mean, YouTube is great these days because, you know, you can learn anything on there, but I think it should be used in conjunction with seeing a real human being that you respect and like what they do. Yeah. I just think there's no substitute for being in a room with someone that knows what they're talking about.
No, totally agree. So, I mean, you know, and if 5 years with Colin and then 3 years with Thomas Lang, if that doesn't set you up, you know, for a career in drums, I don't know what will. I'll be honest. I'm a fan of what Colin does with the drum sense thing. You know,
he's a great educator, and he's really built up a good brand and a good system, and you know, it works.
Yeah, really, I mean, was reading a thing that was quite focused on with Colin?
Yeah, there was definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like, you know, we must read all the time. You know, reading was included with what we were doing. So definitely learning to read, I think, was a really important thing. And I mean, now I think my reading skills are good. I mean, if you were to put a Laurence Cottle tune in front of me and just say go, and I didn't have the chance to look over it, I would make mistakes. But I think that's actually most of us. You know, you need time to have a little look at something and just make notes of any sticking points. But I think reading is such a valuable thing, and also I think it helps you learn new stuff as well. You know, if you hear something and you're able to transcribe someone else's part and break it down and see what it is they're doing, I think that improves you so much as a drummer. So I think reading and writing are two skills that are equally important as being able to play.
Totally agree. And you know, as a youngster growing up, I mean, a lot of the music you play seems to be at the heavier end of the spectrum, as I did when I was younger. Who were your influences as you were growing up?
I'd say the main guys I listened to, or the main guys that I loved, there were four of them actually, which then expanded as I got a bit older. But my four main guys were Dave Weckl, Simon Phillips, Dennis Chambers, Greg Bissonette. Like they were my four main guys, and I think, actually, if you listen to my drumming these days, you can definitely hear all four of those influences in my playing. I also love like Jeff Porcaro and stuff at the time as well. But those four guys were kind of like, I guess, my drumming heroes. And then as I've got older, Virgil Donati, I've stolen a ton off. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And someone and in fact, I think my favorite drummer at the minute, and I always loved him, but I never bothered to dive into what he did, was Vinny.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And right now I can't get enough of, listening to Vinny, and I'll sit down and transcribe some of his stuff and steal his ideas. And in fact, when I did, Attack of the 20-Pound Pizza for my album, I had actually learnt his drum solo from the Modern Drummer Festival a couple of years earlier, note for note. I was like, you know what, I've always wanted to learn this. It's amazing. I'm going to write the whole thing out and I'm going to learn it. And actually doing that was a real eye-opener in terms of, how Vinny thinks and how he operates. There's he definitely loves his paradiddles, and he definitely loves his left hand lead as well. So that was kind of when I then broke that down. That's what made me think, you know what, I've got to record this song. But Vinny is he's the best, I think.
I mean, he is a total musical chameleon, isn't he? You see the stuff he does with Sting, but equally the stuff he's done with Megadeth.
Yes.
You wouldn't put those two next to each other, but wow, it's convincing. Everything is convincing, as it is with the stuff you do. So
well, this is the thing, and I think this is what makes Vinny such a great drummer is that he can do everything, and he's worked to jump from Megadeth to Herbie Hancock to Sting or whatever else, and that's kind of where my head's been at. I've never, we all want to get in, one band that becomes as big as the biggest band on the planet and you make millions of dollars. But the reality of it is it's very rare that happens. So the next thing I wanted to do was be in a position where, I saw so many bands that were like big for 2 years and then they broke up and vanished and the drummer couldn't do anything else because that's all they knew how to do. Yeah. So I always wanted to be able to just do different things and jump from one project to another. And, hence why, in the last week I did Devin Townsend, Martin Barre from Jethro Tull, and tonight I've got a funk jazz gig. It makes me happy being able to sort of apply myself to different styles. And I guess someone could say, oh yeah, but jack of all trades, master of none. But I'd like to think I'm trying to be as close to a master of all of them as I can, and that learning process definitely won't end. It won't end. Like for me, actually, the Devin Townsend gig came about 3 months ago, because I keep chopping and changing the subject, but
that's fine.
I do a lot of work for Toontrack, the people that make Superior Drummer, and a friend of mine owns a company, and he was chatting to Devin, and Devin was saying, I'm working on a new album, and my mate Matthias said, you should phone Darby and get him on some of the album. He's a great player, be really good. And Devin said, well, actually, I'm looking for a drummer in England because I'm coming over to do, this festival. I can't bring a band because I have to quarantine for 10 days either side. It's too expensive and all of that. And so I got the call to do it. But, I love my metal music, but I don't really play it that much. So when I got the songs, like there were a couple of songs in there that I couldn't play. Just like I'm a fast drummer, but in small bursts, and suddenly having to play 200 BPM bass drums for 35 seconds is not what I do. So I actually used it as an excuse to work my ass off and make my drumming better and be able to play these drum parts that I couldn't play 3 months ago. So that was a rewarding thing. Whereas if I was just a drummer that was just used to playing one thing, that probably wouldn't have been a possibility for me.
Totally. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the Devin Townsend thing. I've been a fan since I heard him. I think he was 19 when he did the Steve Vai album. Yeah. And it was like, incredible voice, Yeah. When you got the call, was there any doubt in your mind that you weren't going to do it, or were you like, no, I'm in, I'll do it?
So my first thing was, because I like Devin as much as you do. I was like, I'm doing it. So my friend Matthias said, oh, you might get a call from Devin, and sure enough, 10 minutes later, Devin contacted me and was like, you got recommended. I've checked your videos out online. I'd love you to do the shows. And I was like, excellent, I'm doing it. And then he sent me the set list, and then I started going through the songs, and I was kind of like, fine. Fuck, like listening to this song and just going, oh my god, this is out of my comfort zone. But a bit like the pandemic, I wasn't going to let it defeat me. I'm sort of 3/4 of the way there for being able to do that stuff. And I just worked diligently every day, got my speed up, got my playing up, and smashed it. So yeah, it's, I mean, obviously if someone phoned me for a gig that just, I couldn't do, yeah, I wouldn't just say, yes, I'll do it and turn up and ruin the gig. You know, I want to be the best I can be on everything I do. But this, I knew, 3 months was long enough that I could, improve my game, and I've come out the other end a better drummer for it.
Yeah.
Which I like.
It must have been enjoyable because, I mean, the material is amazing anyway. And there's some real anthems in there. There's some feel-good stuff, isn't there? Let's be honest.
Completely. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's always great when you get called to play songs with, like, the people that have written those songs. A bit like my time in the Darkness a few years ago, getting up there and playing I Believe in a Thing Called Love with the Darkness at the Isle of Wight Festival. That it's you just have this like thing go off in the back of your head where you're like, wow, am I actually doing this? And it was the same thing with Devon, although the only thing was I kind of didn't really think about that till afterwards because there was so much on my plate in terms of playing. Like, it was such a difficult gig. I just had to like really focus, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to sort of sit back and look at the crowd and go, wow, I'm doing this. But if someone had told 10-year-old me all those years ago that I'd be doing the stuff I've done over the last 3 years, I just think it was the best thing in the world.
Wow. I've seen all the footage that you've shared, the drum cam stuff. And it looked phenomenal. A great crowd, great band, great sound on stage.
Pyro, everything. Yeah. Well, and I think I said earlier, we the band got together. We had a day and a half to rehearse for this. Devon put a lot of trust in us, really, because
huge amount.
He's a huge artist, and booking 3 guys. There was me, James Leach, the bass player from Sixth, which is a band that I absolutely love anyway, and Stephen Platt from a Manchester band called Colobus, who did it, and everyone did their homework, and we came together. And I think, in fact, I just posted a video of the song "Love" on YouTube. Cam this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to that. We sound like we've been playing together for a year. Yeah. Like, you would not know it's 3 different session musicians that have never met doing it. And I think that's a sign of a successful, working musician, is someone that can adapt to the situation and make the artist sound like they've always sounded, so that the audience just doesn't notice.
It sounded totally comfortable. And that's a good word to use, I think. It's just, sometimes you can tell when there's a little bit of panic and a lot of body language as well. It's like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
beady eyes darting around everywhere. And
you can't have that. I mean, I think ultimately I love being, I think the term session musician is a bit sort of moot these days, but I enjoy, I call it being a working musician. I enjoy working with different people. Totally. And I think, my advice would be to anyone that wants to get into sort of being a session musician, working musician, is just be as good as you can be and learn as many different things as you can. And what you find is when you then get called to do these situations, you slot in. No one notices that it's a different drummer, or if you're doing really well, people go, wow, this is a step up. I'm not saying that was the case here, but my point was to make the band sound like it always does. So that's kind of like, I think that's the best thing any working musician can do, is just make the artist they're working with feel like nothing's different.
I mean, was it? I mean, a couple of things about the actual gig. Is there any click involved, or is it all live? Is there
Devon, whole shows to click?
Yeah.
So we have, because it's not just about the music. We have video screens. There's pyro. There's actors coming out on stage dressed in funny costumes, so everything has to be synced up and correct.
Elephants.
Elephants. Yeah, anyone that wants to have a little Google Devon Townsend at Bloodstock, and funny thing was, I knew there was an elephant coming out on, well, obviously not a real elephant, but I just thought it was going to be some bloke dressed in like a little elephant from the joke shop, and like this humongous life-size looking elephant came out, and I think that was like possibly the best live moment of my musical career. We got like a big choir either side of us, this giant elephant, a gorilla, and it was just so surreal. And to have this as like my first major gig back after 18 months of a pandemic was just, it's quite emotional, really.
Oh,
and in fact, the warm-up show we did in Manchester the night before, there were people in the audience crying, because I think people really realize more than ever how, people that love music, how important music is to their lives, especially, seeing live music, and to have it taken away from us for so long is it's strange.
I don't know what to say to that. It's just, it's true, isn't it? It's true.
But it's coming back, and I hope it stays coming back as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely the things, the people's faces are just like lighting up more than I've ever seen. And I think the other thing that I've learned from that, and I will come back. So I'm rambling again. I'll come back to the thing about the click in the minute, because there's a couple of interesting things about that. But I think one of the things I've learned about this pandemic and not playing is that at times, it doesn't matter how professional any of us are. Sometimes you can be, you're on a function gig or a corporate or a wedding or something that's not, cool and rock and roll in front of thousands of people. And sometimes if you're in the wrong frame of mind, you kind of sit there going, oh, when's this over? When can I go home? Or, it's the wrong way to think. But I'm sure, you work functions. It happens, doesn't it? You just have a day where you're like, right, I'm tired. I've had enough of this. And I've learned I will never look down or not give my full 100% to anything I do now, even when I'm feeling tired and I've got a cold or something, because having missed playing live music for so long, I realize like how important it is to me. And I also realize like it's even though I've been lucky, I can still make music while I'm at home. Traveling and performing live is like such a large part of who I am as a human. And I'm sure it's the same for you and, 10 million other musicians around the planet. So I'll definitely never sort of let my guard slip when playing again.
No, I think that's good, solid advice there. Don't take it for granted.
No, exactly. Anyway, going back to your original question, the whole click thing with Devon, yeah, it's on a click. But the other thing we had is like a lot of cues on there. So I think Devon wanted to make life as easy as it was for us. So like, before a start of a song, when things were happening on stage, it would go like, next song, Kingdom, count of 8. And then it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you knew exactly where you were to come in.
Yeah.
And, if there was like, another section coming up, it would go like, breakdown, count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just made our lives that little bit easier.
Absolutely.
So that was cool. And I know some people kind of go, oh, gigs to click, or it's all mechanical. But actually, I think if you can play well to a click, you don't sound like you're playing to a click.
Exactly.
And that's a talent in itself. It's everyone talks about, oh yeah, you can play on the click, behind it, in front of it, but actually just grooving around it, is fine as long as you don't start hearing it really shift out of time.
Totally. An incredible gig and hugely technical songs as well. There's nothing that straightforward in there. Did you? Preparation wise, obviously you've done a lot of listening. Did you do any writing to take on with you or not? Was there any?
So my learning process for any gig I get is I will get the set list. I'll write it out kind of note for note if needs be. In the case of the Devon stuff, I wrote a lot of stuff note for note, and then things that were clearly open to a bit of interpretation I would leave out. And what I find is by the time I've written something out in Sibelius, I 95% know it. It's just the way my brain works. And so then what I do is I come in my studio, I play along to the songs, I'd have my charts to the left. I wouldn't look at them unless I was suddenly like, oh God, what's coming next? And I'd have a little glance and go, oh, that's what's next. And then I carried on playing. Sure. So by the time we actually got to the show, I didn't need my charts.
Yeah. Did you not even bring them with you?
No.
Oh, that's it. You're off the cliff at that.
I mean, well, they were on my iPad, but not once did I look at them. No, didn't even have my iPad on stage. No, to be honest, a gig like that, when you've got 3 months to sort of think about learning it, if you haven't learned it by then, you shouldn't be doing the gig in the first place. So like I said earlier, I want to do everything as well as I can do, and that means learning it. Of course, if someone says, "Oh, you do a big band gig tomorrow night, or can you dep in with this?" "Oh, we've got the charts written out." Yeah, you're gonna have to read it, and that's great. But for a big rock show with pyro, I think it would look bad. It's like I get adverts for function bands in my Facebook feed, and it always makes me laugh when I see these bands that have been playing the same Sex on Fire, Living on a Prayer, and Summer of '69 for probably the last decade, and they've all got their iPads on stage with them, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys, why are you doing that? Trust yourselves, learn the songs.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I'll probably get some flack for that, won't I?
No, hey, do you know what I always say on these interviews? Your views are your views. We're all entitled to them, and that's the way it is. So no, who cares?
Again, you're playing a song for the first time. You've only been playing it for a week, fine. But it's when you've been playing something for a decade and everyone knows it, but they don't trust themselves not to look at the notes. And actually, that's another good point, like in terms of learning stuff. Like when I was learning all the stuff for Martin Barre's gig, I was on tour with Carl Verheyen from Supertramp at the time. So I didn't have any time to actually get in here and really play the songs. I think I had one day. So just wrote it all out in the bus and did that. It did become a challenge to make sure that I knew it. So, writing stuff out is great. And I completely forgot where that train of thought was meant to go. So sorry.
Hey, cool.
I did have a valid point to make, which eludes me at the minute.
Hey, it's all good. See, obviously you did your rehearsal. How did it feel that first time? You've got some sounds on stage. First time you actually played as a band in that rehearsal. Did it feel good straight away?
It did. It was a little bit nerve-wracking because we did our rehearsals at Manchester Academy where we were doing the warm-up show, so everything was there. So it was kind of like rehearsal hadn't really started. We were all just getting our ears in and checking sounds, and it was just kind of like, oh, let's just run through it. Suddenly we're running through a song, and so it wasn't like, oh, rehearsal started now. So we sort of set up, and I suddenly realised, oh shit, we've actually started now, and like it sounded good, but I would say we're playing. Everyone's slightly on edge, and about half an hour in, suddenly it's like, everyone relaxed, everything went great, smiles on everyone's faces, and it was just like, right, we've made it. We've got over that little hump of the first sort of unsure 20-30 minutes.
Amazing.
And it was cool.
So how'd you get on with Devin on a personal level? Was he good? Cool guy?
He's a lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy, talented as anything, really funny. The whole band, there was a good sense of when to have a laugh, when to be serious, when to get on with the job. It's kind of everyone knew their place. But I got on with Devin great. I spent about 3 hours in his hotel room on the day of the first gig, fixing a load of backing track issues, and we're just sort of talking about music and just getting on. Yeah, he was really cool. I get the feeling he's one of these humans where his life goal is just to make as much music as humanly possible, and I don't think he will ever stop. It's just like he's one of the biggest workaholics I think I've ever met, in a good way. He's on a mission.
That's saying something coming from you,
Yeah.
You're obviously quite like-minded. Could you ever? I mean, you probably can't say. I don't know, but could you ever see you working together again?
Oh, I think something will happen at some point. Yeah, the band was great. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a time when it happens. Now, will I end up touring in his band? Don't know. Maybe not. There's no plans for anything. The thing with Devin is, I like the fact that he likes discovering musicians. He likes working with different people. Yeah. And I feel like that's where his head's at the minute. So I'm sure one day we will do something, may not be his band. It could be something else, but I'm sure one day something will happen.
So you get him on your next solo album, then that'd be all right.
Well, I get the feeling as much as he might want to, he probably wouldn't have the time. He's just constantly writing music and creating, but it definitely, I've got a lot of respect for the guy. I feel like I've met another musician that I identify with. That's a cool thing. But yeah, the great, all the guys and all the crew, tour management, everyone was just so on the top of their game for that gig. It was a real, and especially being one of my first major gigs back in 18 months, it was great to have it at such a high level. and just to make new friends with people as well. You know, it's not just about music. That's the thing. We always go, oh, it's music this, music that, but it's nice to meet like-minded people that you just get on with as humans, and you can sort of drop a text to a phone and go, all right, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's a bit like Martin Barre. I get on with him great. And, you know, we go on tour and I see people, you know, losing their shit over meeting him, going, wow, it's Martin. I just think of him as old Martin that I phone up and just tell some jokes to and mess about with and have a laugh. But it's funny. But I guess that's the thing as well, when you get to a certain level in your playing, when you're working with people. It's a bit like when people are, oh, he's name dropping again. You know, and you go, well, hold on, someone's not name dropping if they're just talking about what they've been up to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But yeah, it's kind of, it's pretty crazy when I look at who I've been working with over the last 3 years. And like, again, if you told me that 20 years ago, I would have been like the happiest kid alive.
Yeah. You know, you had a really nice feature in Rhythm Magazine as well. Was it last month or the month before? I can't remember.
The current issue.
You know, do you feel that things are on the up again? Obviously, you know, you've been in the limelight a lot lately. Do you feel that? Because I said I was a bit embarrassed that I'd not heard of you until 2 years ago, and you know,
I quite like that, because I'm not trying to present myself as, oh, look, it's Darby Todd, the famous Instagram drummer, or the big name that does this and that. My whole goal, I got asked in another interview a couple of years ago, what's your guide to becoming a famous drummer? Which I think, you know, it's a bit of a stupid question, really. I just said, I think the biggest thing is, don't try and become a famous drummer. Be a working drummer. Because ultimately, if you work and you get called for stuff, you might get that level of fame in a big band. But I was never fussed about, you know, not being known. I consistently work. I consistently jump from gig to gig. And if people know who I am and like what I do, that's fantastic. But equally, if they don't, I'm still the guy in there holding it down and doing stuff. So yeah, my focus has never been on sort of being the biggest household name. If it happens, or it's more than it is last year, that's fantastic. I'm glad people like what I do. But you know, ultimately, I just want to make music, and I'm trying to be a musician rather than you know, be the household name that everyone knows.
No, absolutely, and I totally respect you for that. But it just, I'm only speaking as an outsider looking in. It certainly seems as if there's been a bit of a shift, as in people know your name now a little more, and that's, I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. You know, it's
no, it's great, and I'm really grateful that people like what I do, and I get messages from people, you know, saying that they love what I do and asking questions and stuff like that. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think part of my responsibility as a drummer is to sort of help educate other people with drumming and kind of pass the torch. Well, not that I have the torch, but do you know what I mean? Kind of get other people involved in following in my footsteps, or you get people following in your footsteps. I think it's important we keep the whole art of drumming up there and continuing to move up. And actually, the more people know who I am, hopefully, the more I inspire a few more people to play drums.
Totally. Well, look, I think that is a fantastic place to wrap it up. Look, Darby, thanks so much, mate. It's been really kind of you. Some of the stuff you do is phenomenal, inspiring stuff, you know. And like you say, I'm sure it will inspire many youngsters, or you know, even people who've been playing a while, just to up the game a little bit and experiment. Have fun, play drums, and create. You know, not everyone has to aim to be the best drummer in the world. I'm trying to be. I wouldn't say I'm trying to be the best drummer in the world. I'm trying to be the best drummer I can be, and the more that I improve, the better. And some people will say, like, you know, if you watch some videos of me doing some crazy stuff online, what's the point in doing that? Well, probably no point in doing that, but I find that the more complicated stuff I can do, actually, it helps me with the simple things, and I enjoy doing it, and I want to push myself. And I think, you know, you do it for fun, do it to push yourself. It doesn't matter, but just get out there and play some drums, and that's kind of what I'm doing. Top man. Darby, thanks very much, mate. All the very best for whatever appears around the corner. Loads of different things, no doubt.
So I feel privileged to be on this podcast after seeing all the other guys you've had on it. I feel like I'm not quite worthy.
Oh, not at all, mate. Not at all. You're right up there with them. So it's been a pleasure.
Appreciate that. Cool, man.
Cheers,
Thanks so
mate.
much.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Darby.
Bye.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Awesome.